Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this session with us. I hope all of you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. So, today we are discussing a very interesting topic, game on. Phenomena that has captured global mobile population, more so in Southeast Asia, like never before. We all have this feeling that we have mobile gamers all around us, right? They have increased in number disproportionately during this COVID time specifically, and they are across age, gender, demographics. But some of the statistics that we have are truly mind-boggling. So how we're going to spend next 20 to 25 minutes is as following. Firstly, I'm going to share some really astonishing stats with you, which will establish that gaming on mobile has arrived and has arrived as big time. Secondly, we will also have an industry expert with us. We will have Elvin joining us for a chat, sharing his perspective on what is in it for today's marketer. So that side of part is also very important for all of us to understand. Elvin heads Google marketing platform, of course, at Google for Indonesia. And lastly, we will wrap it up by discussing key takeaways from our discussion with Elvin. So that's how we will spend the next 25 minutes or so. Without any further ado, let's take our session further with some of those stats. All right, there we are. These are some mind-boggling stats. 250 million gamers around us in Southeast Asia. We all believe that a lot of population is playing games, more so during the COVID times when they had a little more time, to spend through on their mobile phones. But these stats are truly mind-boggling. What this establishes is if you don't have a strategy reaching out to this large population, you must have one because pretty much everyone is on mobile gaming population. And this phenomena, by the way, is only increasing further. So the number of population who is on mobile games right now in 6 months down the lane, you never know, it can become 1.5x, 2x. So this phenomena is catching up really fast. Moving further, let's deep dive into Indonesia, one of the largest markets that we have in Southeast Asia. We all know that gaming has always been one of the largest, if not the largest, content vertical that is available on mobile phones. If any increase happens on that, that's going to be further mind-boggling. Now, here, what you see here is the increasing number of games played each month by average user, and Indonesia is featuring amongst the top 3 markets across the globe, with again astonishing 26%. So that's a quarter of an increase. Already, a lot of people are playing a lot of games. Now, there is a further increase that has happened during COVID-19 pandemic times. And you see the peak month in 2020 versus peak month in 2019, the average has further increased. And I very strongly believe that this is going to again increase further up. So a lot of people playing a lot of games is what we have seen in a couple of sites so far. Who are these people who are playing these games? Let's try and understand a bit more by diving deep into the top gaming audiences. If at all you believed that Indonesian gamers were males aged between 16 to 20 or 24, you were absolutely wrong. Now, what the slide tells us is there are 59% female gamer versus 41% male gamer. So there are more females playing mobile games than males. And if you thought for a moment that this phenomena, again, as I said, is more predominant between the age group 18 to 24, again, all of us were absolutely wrong, because what you see here is 45 plus, that is having the most amount of participation in this phenomena. So that's the crux of the chart that you see on the left. The one that you see on the right is also very interesting. If you thought for a moment, what is it the type of gaming apps that Indonesian gamers are spending their time on? This is not just made up of one part of or one content category within games. There are multiple content categories within gaming also. So you have got casual games, you've got action games, you've got arcade games. What this gives you is an opportunity to talk to different set of audience within mobile gaming populations as well. So when you think of mobile gamer, just don't think so that he's gonna playing or he would be playing one sort of game within the portfolio of gaming applications that are available on smartphone. There are a number of games capturing different sets of contents within gaming population as well. So as we look at some of the stats on this particular slides, let's look at how the gaming audience engagement through the months have been, and let's compare the before pandemic and after pandemic era. You see there's disproportionate increase in gaming audience engagement that has come in March and April. Now this is the after pandemic time. So now a lot of people playing a lot of games, and the engagement that you have has also increased considerably. And if you thought that growth in gaming app usage was coming in just one category of apps, that is also wrong. You see massive amount of growth coming in arcade games, board games, simulation games, and some of the stats that we saw on the previous slide, looking at the gender demographics. This is mind-boggling. So it's a very interesting space which has picked up the pace like never before. Of course, after pandemic stats are astonishingly exciting for today's marketer. So there's a lot happening in gaming space, and some of these stats just affirms that for us. All right, then these were some really interesting stats. Now let's also welcome Elvin and takes his perspective on what all of this phenomena means for today's marketer. So let's welcome Elvin into our session. All right, so here we have Elvin joining us, and I'm really looking forward to spending next few minutes and hearing from him on this topic. Just to reiterate for our viewers, Elvin heads Google marketing platform at Google in Indonesia. Hello, Elvin. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Welcome to our session. How are you doing?
Thanks, Sudhanshu. Thanks for having me here. We're doing great here in Jakarta. Hope all of you in InMobi are doing fine as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Elvin, and really appreciate your time once again. So the very interesting topic that we have is Game On for Southeast Asia, and I look forward to discussing that, given the explosion in mobile gamer populations across the globe, more so in Southeast Asia, and more importantly, what this trend really means for marketers. And Elvin, given you head Google marketing platform for Indonesia, you'll not only have a very comprehensive view of content consumption patterns, trends that are emerging within mobile media, but also deep insights on how the marketers or advertiser community is reacting to it. So let me start by picking upon that part. Now, as we understand, Elvin, that many experts are stating that there are almost 2.7 billion mobile gamers now across the globe. Now, that number is mind-boggling. Just to put things into perspective, that's pretty much 70% of the world's smartphone population. That basically means that gaming has actually come to the forefront of entertainment vertical and has become a sort of mainstream in Southeast Asia. From an advertising lens, Elvin, what do you think is the perception among advertisers regarding the gaming opportunity in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of, and we've heard a lot of requests and questions from advertisers to learn more about gaming. I think the appetite to actually going to be involved in the gaming industry is actually getting there. However, there are a couple of trends or perceptions that we actually kind of observe. I think number one, despite they are actually like really wanted to play in gaming area, however, there are some misconceptions that's quite prominent. There are a couple of aspects. I think the first ones that actually quite prominent that we've seen is actually on the gender. Second one is actually on age, and third one is actually on geo or city. There are many brands, advertisers are still think or assumes that gamings are really mainly for, you know, young males, 10 to 20 years old that actually resides in urban area. However, based on the recent study that we've done, and this is actually also published in our latest Thing with Google article, we found that 40% of the gaming communities are actually female, right? This is actually quite a big chunk of it. And we think that actually this is a big group of audience that brand can also leverage. The second one that we have actually seen as well is actually in terms of locations. Given there are more easy access for data, we've seen there are more audience that actually grow in tier 2 cities as well, not only in urban area. And when you come to think about it, right, you've seen there are many games that actually very localized. I think in Indonesia, there are these games called PAS simulators that actually still being used and being consumed and being played a lot in our tier 2 cities as well. So I think that's the kind of perceptions that I've seen from the brand advertisers. The second one that we've seen as well is actually, I think gaming is pretty much still in the nascent stage. A lot of brand is actually trying to figure out how is the best to actually play in this new industry, which is actually still which is very reasonable, right? Some of them is actually wanted to play in esports. Some of them is actually get the gaming talents, for instance, or even some create their own gaming experience, right? Despite whatever things that brands things to do, I think it's very important for brand advertisers to actually leverage this momentum very fast, right? Because everybody is actually trying to play this in this area, and given the sheer size of the audience and given the sheer size of gaming games and gaming players out there, I think brand needs to actually try to be there as fast and as soon as possible.
That's very interesting. And given the very large scale of mobile gaming population, as you mentioned, it has broken the myth of having or associate gaming with just a specific demographic. All those myths have really broken. As you mentioned, 40% of all the gaming population that you saw at Google was female. So that's really large. And we just talked about earlier that at InMobi platform, we see more females than male gamers. So that's really interesting. So it's now becoming a medium that you most definitely cannot afford to not participate as far as this trend is concerned. Alvin, what do you think a brand has to do to embrace gaming to its truest potential? Or if I have to flip it, with your experience, what do you think are the top concerns within the in-game advertising for brands that exist today?
Okay, so I think it's a very good question. It's a very tough question as well, because as I mentioned, I think everybody is actually trying to figure it out at this point in time. But I think principally there are three things that I've seen that brands can actually do to actually embrace gaming to its true potentials. I think the number one is actually on ads creative. I think we all agree that creative actually plays a big part on how communications is actually being conveyed and being received by the consumers. So ads creative plays an important role, right? In our platform itself, YouTube especially, we've have a couple of studies that shows like what kind of creative elements that actually works in a gaming territory. Like for example, I think in gaming ads, music actually trumps words, right? Very important to actually show your game line, right? And how can brands actually bring game into real world? I think this is one of the criteria that we've seen that actually works in ads creative. And I've seen also there are a lot of brands that actually try to gamify their ads. Right? I think that's could help in actually increasing not only reach but also in ads engagements. The second one that I think advertisers needs to pay attention is actually on the placement and platforms, right? Whether you actually want to put your communications in game apps as an advertising or as a built-in. The second one is actually the platforms, right? Whether it's actually YouTube as a platform or maybe other gaming event platforms for your ads. We've seen actually in YouTube, 20% of our diamond creators now are actually coming from gaming community. And diamond creators are creators that actually with 10 million subscribers. The third one that I think brands needs to do to actually embrace gaming as a true potential is actually to play deliberately on community. Gaming is actually a very tight community. There are a lot of gaming events that actually being done, whether it's actually at the big scale, at smaller scales. I think to give an examples, there are many of creators, MCNs that actually host mabar or main barangs together between the streamers and also the gamers, and they're actually doing it every week, right? So there's actually a tap opportunities or events that actually brand can actually embrace as well. Right, so these are the three things I think Sudhanshu that actually brand needs to pay attention. However, at the bottom, I also would like to stress about brand safety. Right, I think brand safety in this kind of environment is actually very, very critical. There are a lot of steps that actually being done by many platforms, YouTube, and I think InMobi is included, to ensure that brands actually put their ads in a safe environment. And I think it's very important for brand to actually have that conversations with all their media providers or their media agencies too.
That's very true, and that's something quite insightful for our viewers as well. We talked about audiences and all sort of audiences at scale. You talked about creative innovations, how what sort of an opportunity gaming as a platform provides, also ability to drive community-driven initiatives, all boxes green as far as brand safety is concerned. You pretty much get all of that in mobile gaming. Now, Alvin, taking this further a bit, while we understand gaming on mobile has arrived big time, what would it take to scale adoption of ad spends on gaming ad placements? What do you think, Alvin?
Yeah, I think to be very honest, when we're thinking about scaling at this time, my point of view, it's actually quite an easy to scale, right? Given the natures of the ecosystem that we have now. So it's very important for brands to actually like really understand the ecosystem, understand the game developers, understand the supply providers, supply aggregators, and also understand the platforms, right? When you actually understand all these three elements, then I think you can actually form a right strategy to actually saturate. Now, I think the easiest one to actually saturate the gaming industry, especially for ads, is by in-game ads, right? We have actually seen how rewards-based ads is actually works in driving more engagements towards brand, because people's actually wanted to get their rewards to actually continue playing, right? The second ones that actually brand can actually leverage is actually leverage the streaming platforms, right? Like I mentioned before, YouTube as a streaming platforms, where the growth on gaming vertical is actually very, very high. 20% of our diamond creators are coming from a gaming verticals right now. Now, when brands actually want to scale, I think there's a lot of merit to actually see these streaming platforms and also in-app inventory, and how you can actually own it from end to end. And I think this is where programmatic solutions, for example, can actually like really cater the brand needs to actually scale gaming in a very fast way, right? And then the last one, I think, not to say the least, is actually the community events, right? I think it's very good for brand to actually create a deliberate effort, right? And I'm sure there are a lot of championship community events that actually is being available right now, and they're also available online. Mobile Legends World Cup, for example, is actually available in YouTube as well. Consumers can actually see it and watch it, and there's actually a lot of opportunity for brand to actually leverage it. I think that's my point of view, Sudhanshu, on how to scale gaming at this point in time.
Well, again, quite interesting. That now, Alvin, brings me to the last question, but definitely I think one of the more important ones, and a lot of our viewers to take away from. If you had to sort of give top 3 tips to advertisers who are looking to tap into mobile gaming opportunity, what would be those?
Okay, I think I will start with number one is actually by relooking your audience target, right? I think brand needs to understand the target audience when we're talking about gaming is actually beyond younger male in urban area, right? I think you need to get your data and actually like really learns where your consumer is, and to really understand the potentials of gaming audience, right? I believe when you actually relook at your audience, then you can actually get a much bigger scale and bigger impact in totality after all. The second one is really about understanding the ecosystem to scale. There are multiple games and there are millions of gamers. And I think it's very important for brands to actually scale the effort as much as possible, because one consumers can actually play multiple games, right? When you're actually sponsoring a certain tournament, or you're actually like really putting an ad in one game, it doesn't mean you actually reach enough, right? Things to actually get it at scale as much as possible, I think it's very critical, because gaming is really for everybody. The third one, to be very honest, is a little bit cliche, is actually start doing, right? Everybody is actually at the nascent stage right now, I think. It's very important to actually get ahead in the learning curve. There are multiple ways for brand to actually learn. Like I mentioned, I think in-app advertising is the easiest way to actually you start with. But as you actually build your data point, as you actually build your expertise on gaming, I think there are many other things that you can actually do, from sponsoring an event to actually engaging a certain gaming creators as your talents and so on, right? So, but I think the most important thing is actually start doing right now. That's it, Sudhanshu, the 3 things.
All right, that's great. I mean, audience targeting, I could not agree with you more. I think it's pretty evident, the data proves it, that everyone is playing mobile games. So associating mobile gaming with the cliche demographic of 16 to 18-year-old male, that's myth, nothing but a myth. So I'll conclude with that as one of the key highlight of our discussion, something that our viewers should definitely keep in mind and start doing, as you said, Alvin. Those were some amazing insights. I'm sure we are all most definitely much more richer in our thoughts and understanding of gaming, mobile gaming, in terms of how advertisers are perceiving it, what are some of the challenges, and more importantly, what are the ways that they can overcome those. Thank you so much, Alvin. It was absolutely great to have you join me for this discussion, and I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck for the rest of the events.
Thanks. All right, so that was some really interesting chat with Alvin. Some really, really interesting takeaways that he mentioned. What we've done is we have listed the key takeaways out of that discussion. The number one is digital cliches. If you thought, again, we discussed some of the stats earlier and during the discussion with Alvin as well, if you thought that the mobile gamer belongs to an age 18 to 24 and his gender would be male, we're absolutely wrong. We saw the stats, there are more female gamers who are playing games on their mobile phones than male population. It's very important for you to understand your consumers there, right? Across gender, across age groups, we see mobile gaming population emerging now. So whichever your vertical is as a brand, whatever the target audience you want to reach out to, that target audience at scale you'll be find within mobile gaming population. And it's a very interesting, another very interesting aspect of this is when they're playing games, they're also receptive to the communication from the brand. So that gives another large opportunity that your audience at scale is also available. They're also a lot more receptive to receiving the communication that the brand may want to make. And of course, because it's gaming as a vertical, there are a lot of opportunities. It's a green field as well as creative executions as well. There are a lot of brands who have picked up gaming as a vertical when they're doing a lot of creative innovation done like never before. Last but definitely not the least, and actually, to be honest, very important, just hit play. What it means is just try it out. The gaming as a vertical has arrived. It's only going to increase. So if you don't have a strategy which is centered around, targeting mobile gamers, a population which is large, a population that has pretty much all the audience segment that you can think of in there, that gives you an opportunity to do a lot of innovation as far as creatives are concerned, you must have one. So that's the thought that I'll leave today's audience with. Once again, thank you so much for your time and joining us for this session. I had a great time talking about this very interesting phenomena, and I hope you had a good time too. Thank you so much again, and I hope to see you.